Hey everyone, welcome back to Hello Hot Flash, where we help you navigate the midlife change with science, honesty, and real talk. I'm Stephanie Shaw, and this August we are doing something I have been excited about for a long time. We are celebrating our most downloaded episodes of all time. These are the conversations you kept coming back to, rather, the ones you forwarded to your best friend and your sister and your daughter in law, your coworkers, the ones you listened to twice because you needed to hear it again. And I want to make sure every woman in this community, including the thousands of you who have joined us since these originally aired, has had a chance to hear them. So, for the next few Thursdays, we're going back to the episodes that moved you most. And today's conversation was one of the biggest ones we've ever done. In July of 2025, the FDA convened an advisory panel to formally review hormone replacement therapy. And what came out of that room shook our community. I called Dr. Kat Brown to help us walk through this. Dr. Kathleen Brown, or Dr. Kat, is the medical director at Winona, one of the leading national menopause telehealth providers. She is a board certified OBGYN with over 2 decades of experience in women's health, a fellow of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, a Menopause Society certified practitioner, and a 12-year U.S. Army vet who spent her military career providing women's health care to service members and their families all over the world. So the woman knows her stuff, you guys. She watched that FDA panel the same way I did, holding her breath. And what she shared with me about what it means for women, what the black box warning on vaginal estrogen is actually doing to real women's lives, and what we need to fight for, I haven't forgotten a word of it. Neither have you, apparently. This is one of our most downloaded episodes ever. Let's get back into it. Hey there, I'm Stephanie Shaw, Christian health coach and menopause advocate, and this is Hello Hot Flash, the podcast where midlife women learn from guest experts and authors. Here you'll discover what both science and scripture have to say about this new chapter in our lives. Hello Hot Flash, where we learn to control the change and not let the change control us. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying Hello Hot Flash, please take a second to follow or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. It really helps more women find this community. And if you want to see these conversations, we have a full video podcast over on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/@, Hello Hot Flash Podcast. So again, youtube.com/@Hello Hot Flash Podcast. All right, let's get into it. Dr. Brown, you watched the FDA panel in real time. You told me you walked in skeptical. What changed?
I mean, to be honest, when I saw the advertisement about the panel, I was skeptical because the two faces that they had were the leaders of the FDA, and basically neither of them had women's health experience. And so me and my colleagues at Winona, we were like, ugh, what is this going to be about? How could they possibly talk about this? And the first thing I was pleasantly surprised about was that when I was watching the panel, they invited the nation's experts on this
Yeah.
and some of the pillars of our field that have really been proponents for HRT all along. I mean, these are people that have published, done studies that, I would pay to see talk and do lectures. And so that was already like when I saw who was there and who they invited to have this conversation, I was like, yes, this is happening. And I just felt like it was such a leap forward in opening the dialogue toward changing this tide in the country about everyone being so afraid of HRT.
There was one physician in particular, an orthopedic surgeon, whose comments you could not stop thinking about. Tell me what she said and why it mattered.
The orthopedic surgeon that was on the panel talking about how she just wished more people would prescribe HRT so that she could stop doing her job of putting hardware in women
Yeah.
with osteoporotic fractures. I think that The way that she talked about that, that will hit home for a lot of people. And I think that, when patients are listening to this, women are literally dying of preventable diseases and having multiple medical problems that could have been prevented had they been offered HRT. I mean, literally, it's life-saving treatment that has been withheld for so many years.
There's a black box warning on vaginal estrogen. Most women don't know it exists. Can you explain what it says and what it's actually doing?
When any woman gets a prescription for estrogen of any source, there is a black box warning that comes in that prescription insert. But if you were to open that package, there's this big black box warning that basically says, this product will cause you to have blood clots, stroke, heart disease, heart attack. And the fact is, it's just a fallacy that vaginal estrogen could cause any of those things. Vaginal estrogen is so safe, even safe for women that have had cancers before, because it's only locally absorbed in the vaginal tissue. But this is the first big thing that can be done is get rid of that warning on vaginal estrogen, make vaginal estrogen more accessible, more prescribed for women. And some of us in the field actually argue that vaginal estrogen should really be available without a prescription. Ultimately, over time, it's so safe for women everywhere, and it can make such a difference in lifestyle and quality of life and health overall.
You connected vaginal estrogen to UTIs and then connected UTIs to something far more serious. I want women to understand this chain.
Ultimately, a bladder infection we think of as very benign, but the problem is in a patient who maybe has, some onset of dementia or some cognitive decline, they may not feel those symptoms or they may not know what it is. And what happens is the risk of that is that the infection can ascend up into the deeper, higher parts of that genital urinary tract and ultimately get up into the kidney. And when it gets into the kidney, that infection can actually traverse the blood vessels and get into our bloodstream. Sepsis kills, especially our most immunocompromised patients, and so I don't think people realize that a bladder infection, untreated, that gets to that point and gets that bad can be deadly, especially in our elderly population.
Let's talk about the science behind FlexBeam because I think you deserve to understand what you're actually using, not just take my word for it. FlexBeam is a red and near infrared light therapy device. Here's the simple version. Red light works on the surface, skin, surface tissue, circulation. Near infrared goes deeper, reaching muscles, joints, and the mitochondria inside your cells, the part of you that actually produces energy. Together, they support your body at a cellular level, which matters more the longer we're on this earth. This isn't about chasing anti-aging. It's about giving your body real, research-backed tools to function well today, this decade, and the next one. FlexBeam is FDA cleared, 10 minutes a day, and used by tens of thousands of women who wanted a wellness tool grounded in actual science. Head over to recharge.health and use code HOTFLASH15 for 15% off. That's recharge.health, code HOTFLASH15. The panel put a spotlight on something women have been asking about for years: testosterone. What does the complete absence of FDA approved options for women actually reveal?
It highlights the fact that we're treated as second class citizens, right? That we're not as important, and also we've seen that and how much money and how much research has gone into with erectile dysfunction. But women are such an integral part of our society, of our community. Ultimately, women are the drivers of all healthcare in their households too, right? So if we don't take care of women, it's a domino effect in every other aspect of all the other people's lives in the women's lives. So for years, doctors have been giving women testosterone because you only have male products that are FDA approved for men. The dosing is meant for men. So it's forcing doctors to have to kind of tweak, and it's such a tenuous situation. Like, give us a FDA approved testosterone product for women so
Right.
that we can offer this treatment safely and not have to give patients a disclaimer that, oh, this is off label, this product's really made for men.
For the women listening who still can't get their doctor to have this conversation, what do you want them to understand about individualized care and what should they actually say when they walk into that office?
It has to be a shared decision-making process with each patient, right? And everybody should have their treatment individualized to them as a person, as an individual, so they can really pick what's best for them. I mean, I like to offer a buffet of options to patients. You know, when they tell me what's going on, I like to say, okay, well, you have this. I think you could really benefit from treatment, but we have options of oral pills, or you can use a transdermal method, such as a cream or a gel or a patch. And because ultimately, if they're not going to remember or if they're not going to take it regularly, it's not going to give them the benefit that they need. So it has to be a shared conversation with the patient, and you have to have the time to sit and talk with your patients.
You said something that has stayed with me, that listening is just as important as prescribing. What have patients taught you that no textbook ever could?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned from patients is really how to connect with them. As a physician, you cannot learn a bedside manner from a textbook at all. You know, when they go to seek medical care, they don't feel seen or heard. Often, sometimes, like their providers are cutting them off and asking questions, but it's so very important to just hear women out. And I think that that builds a lot of trust when you actually listen, you know, with your total attention. Have your eye contact. Don't be at your computer while they're talking. That's what patients have taught me over the years. So very important.
There is something that happens when a room full of the nation's top menopause experts finally gets a seat at the FDA table. And what Dr. Kat Brown described in this conversation is exactly that moment: a panel, a platform, a chance to say out loud what clinicians have been saying in examining rooms and conference hallways for years: that the black box warning on vaginal estrogen is wrong, that the absence of FDA approved testosterone options for women is a health care inequity, and that hormone therapy, when given to the right woman at the right time, is not something to be afraid of. It is something to ask for if it is something you choose to ask for. I want you to walk away from this episode with one thing in mind. You have the right to a real conversation in your doctor's office, not a 3-minute handoff, not a pamphlet, a conversation about your symptoms, your history, your quality of life, and what your options actually are. And if you're not getting that conversation, you are allowed to go find someone who will have it with you. I say that all of the time. Dr. Kat Brown and the team at Winona are doing exactly that, giving women the time and the expertise they deserve. The link is in the show notes. And as for the FDA panel, that conversation is not over. The commentary period is still open. The data is still being collected. Your voice still matters in this. Share this episode. Talk about what you heard. Don't gatekeep this information. As Dr. Brown said, share it with your daughters, your friends, the women in your life who are suffering and don't know why. Here's to your health.